There's been so much happening at Koala Gardens, I haven't had time to do an update on Jessie. So let's check in on our favourite Houdini koala and see how he's been doing the last month or so. We all love Jessie. So let's go. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Koala Gardens. I'm Katrina and I'm passionate about saving koalas. I have a wildlife sanctuary and you get to share the experiences here with me. I also help create a beautiful series of children's books based on the animals here on the property. And now, sit back and enjoy the video. Just a little recap on Jessie. Jessie came into care at Friends of the Koala with gut issues. He was found actually trying to get into a house and seemed to be a little bit small. He was in care for nearly 18 months trying to get these issues resolved, and we brought him out to put him into the soft release enclosure here to see how he would go out in a wild environment to get him ready for release. And 2 nights after he was brought here, he did some big flying leap and escaped. Jessie arrived here in mid-January, so it's been quite a while that he's been around, but I'll say at the outset, I am seeing him less and less. But let's see what he's been up to. Look at that face. We all just love that beautiful twitching nose. He always does this when I'm looking at him. Well, that is, if he's awake. A lot of the time, he's just curled up in a happy sleeping ball, like we find most koalas are. Here he is in a swamp mahogany in the plantation area. Jessie tends to spend about 30% of his time in the plantation, particularly in the swamp mahogany trees here in the plantation. And then he spends the rest of the time usually in the bigger mature forest red gums, but I do often also find him in the forest red gums that are around 10 years old now and are around 15 metres high. So he is moving around a lot and he's eating on a lot of different varieties of trees and eating trees of different ages. So that means Jessie is actually making lots of his own decisions. And I tell you what, there's really nothing quite like seeing a koala, any koala, through my kitchen window. One of the things you'll notice as we move through this update video is that each time I'm filming Jessie, it's pretty much a different day and he's in a different tree. And you might notice the difference between the bark and the leaves. For example, he's up in a large mature forest red gum right now. Even though it looks like he's quite close, we all know how good the zoom on my camera is. Jessie's always very calm when I do come along and find him. I treat him, however, like I treat any wild koala, which is I don't approach right up to the base of the tree, and I am very quiet, and even though I point the camera at him, I try not to make any real direct eye contact with koalas, as making direct eye contact with wild animals is often a very threatening thing for them. Look at this beautiful little view through that I got to him, and you can see that again he's in the plantation area and he's not very far away from the kindy, and you might just be able to make out my house in the background there as well. I particularly like this little clip because it does show some of the strength in Jesse as he works his way around up in the top of a forest red gum tree. He's actually quite high up in the top of a mature tree that's more than 20 metres tall. Quite often when they're up in the very top of the taller trees, it's actually harder to get reasonable video of them because there's all that darn leaf in the way. Jesse, you need to eat the leaf that's beside you so that we can see through to you, mate. Go on, choose the right bits. You can see him reaching forward and looking for exactly the best leaves for his digestive needs. And it seems to me that the thing that always is the answer for koalas is go higher, go higher. If it's not working, go higher. Now he seems to have found himself a pretty good spot both for sitting and for reaching the leaves he wants. And how kind, we can actually get a really good view there to see him eating well. Look at the size of those leaves compared to the size of his head. And you can see that he has to just grind those molar teeth and keep working on that leaf to get those huge leaves down. What I have found with Jesse is that since the breeding season really eased right off as April turned into May, the other males around the area have changed the way they're moving about, and that has caused Jesse to change the way he's moving about, because all of a sudden the big adult males in the area are not being quite so protective and alert to where all of the koalas are moving about because the mating time is over. And so Jesse seems to be branching out more and more, and therefore he's spending less and less time here at Koala Gardens. Now we all love Jesse, and we would all love to be able to watch him forever. But in truth, if we think about what's best for Jesse and best for koalas as a species, then we actually need to celebrate if Jesse is slowly moving out and away from here, because that means Jesse is making his own decisions based on what is going to be best for him, finding places where he wants to live for koala reasons, not for human reasons. And that means that Jesse is looking like he's going to be a real survivor out there. And that is really exciting, because this is one tough little guy that is surmounting huge odds. And as koala lovers, we really want to celebrate that one. And in all the time it took me to say that, he finally managed to chew down one of those huge leaves. You might remember that I said in a video recently when I was videoing Ellie that koalas don't always go for the very tippy smaller leaves. They often actually go for the really big leaves and leaves that look quite tough, because they know which ones have got the correct chemical composition. And the way they know that is they're actually able to detect that with their noses. They're detecting it by smell, but it is actually like a chemical analysis that they're able to do inside their noses. And so here's Jessie having a fabulous time eating quite tough looking leaves that have even got a few holes in them from insects already. So no matter where Jessie ends up living, we hope that he does at least pop back into here now and then so that we can have updates on him. But we just wish this fantastic little guy all the best, and you've made it through to the end of another video. So would you write in the comments below, eat even more, Jessie? Thanks so much for watching. More great video coming up real soon. Thanks for visiting Koala Gardens. Did you hit the like button? Now before you go, there's lots more great video to see, and make sure you've subscribed and hit that notification bell.